Good afternoon and good morning, everyone. My name is Mikołaj Lauer. I'm one of XTM experts, and today I will be presenting a webinar about our new connectors, new XTM connectors, SharePoint and Oracle Content Management, also called OCM as an abbreviation. I would like to briefly present the agenda to you, and also to present a couple of housekeeping rules. So first of all, you are all on mute, but you are able to ask questions in the questions panel in your GoToWebinar control panel and on the right. So please do that if you have any questions. And also I will be sharing my screen once I present the agenda. And yeah, hopefully you will enjoy this webinar and you will find it informative. So let me just go back to the next slide. First of all, we'll talk about the SharePoint connector configuration, how it can be configured to connect to your SharePoint documents, to your drive. We also call this connector MS SharePoint and Drive connector. I will show you how to upload source files in SharePoint, how XTM automatically sends them to XTM, and how you can download the translated files in a specific folder and in SharePoint. And then I will switch to OCM connector and just a few words about the configuration, how you can create different profiles and workflows and project templates with specific languages. And also, obviously, I will show you the entire round tripping between between OCM and XTM. So today we'll be sending assets for translation, and then we'll show you how XTM imports the translations back in OCM and how you can see different language versions of your assets. It's also possible to send the entire sites for translation. So without further ado, let me go to the actual demo environment, and I would like to maybe start from discussing the SharePoint connector. And so I'm now in the documents section of my SharePoint, and so it works with documents, not with sites. And then there are two folders. These are obviously just the names I created and invented. You can have any names, and you can call them, let's say, hot folders, and in one of them you can put source files, and in the other you will get the target files and in languages that you configured in the configuration in the admin panel. So when there is a SharePoint panel, and in that panel the administrators can configure certain things, and I would like to briefly show you how it works. So basically, how it looks. Basically, you can see after the connection to SharePoint is established, and so without going into too many details, there are specific details that are needed in order to connect SharePoint with XTM. Then here and below, you can see we have the source folder and the target folder. So these are exactly the folders I showed you. So they have to be kind of mapped, right? So let's say Lauer is my folder, and then under those, in these folders, I have specific source folder, which is this one. And I have also a specific target folder, which is this one. And these are the folders that are shown here and in SharePoint, sorry. So let's go back, and let's say besides that configuration for the source and target folder, we also have a number of different settings in XTM. So those of you who use XTM, you'll probably already recognize certain concepts like XTM customer, so you can specify a given customer under which a project will be created, and the translation memory will be stored. You can also create a template, right? We can actually select a template because those templates are pulled from XTM. And that means that you can create a template and it will be immediately visible and in this panel. So the SharePoint template in this case, it entails, say, using a couple of target languages, and English is a source. Those obviously languages can be changed in the template. So then XTM will create folders for the target languages in SharePoint, which I'm going to show you a bit later. So you can also specify the prefix for your projects from SharePoint. You can also specify the synchronization time. So we see today, for demo purposes, I made it very short. So it's actually 1 minute. So within 1 minute from file upload, source file upload, I should be able to see a project created in XTM. It's also possible to plan the so-called schedule check for XTM content. So let's say it's 9 o'clock every day. It means that every day the connector will be checking if all the files in SharePoint are up to date, and it will be simply checking it using API and by contacting XTM. You can also enable automatic continuous localization. So that's something that we'll not be showing today, but just to briefly explain, continuous localization means that you can update the existing project with new files or maybe updated files. And XTM will simply update that project directly in XTM when you upload the files in SharePoint, or maybe even when you make a change to the file in your, let's say, SharePoint online doc viewer. And then there are also a number of settings regarding the notifications. So then those of you or those of the users who actually create content and then upload the files in SharePoint, they can be notified when the project is created, when the project is finished. So they actually know when they can enter SharePoint and see the translations, so download the translations, right? It's also possible to see what is the progress, and also once the project is potentially, canceled by someone in XTM, so it can also be communicated. So that's just briefly the configuration. And I would like to show you how the connection or connector works in practice. To this end, I would like to add a source file. And so I went to the source folder, and now I have to upload it. So upload the file. So I'm going to just use, and strangely enough, OCM info documents. So we'll be talking about OCM a bit later. So that's a doc file. So you can upload any file format you use and any file format that is supported by XTM. So now within a minute, we should be able to see that project in XTM, or that file in XTM, processed already and analyzed against the translation memory and machine translation in our case. So let me just log in to our account, demo account, that's XTM, as a TMS. And so in, I guess, 30 seconds, we should be able to see the project. These are some old projects I was creating today. So basically, as you can already see from those old ones, that we have a prefix. It's SharePoint, and also we have, if I extend it, we have the specific folder, and which will be created for the target files, and it's taken from the name of the profile because I called it Experts Demo Profile, and then you have a consequent number. So, and for all these projects that are being created. Without further ado, we can double check if the project is already created. Yes, it is. So you can see that now as we speak, it's 5:09 p.m. CET. We can now enter the project itself. And as you can see, we applied the SharePoint template, the one I was showing to you, which means that there are specific languages. And in that template, French, German, and Japanese, and English UK is a source. And we also have a specific workflow, right? Because that workflow was already predefined in the template for all these languages. And so if you open the language or click the button, then you will see the file I sent just a while ago. And it's actually already being processed in XTM. So I can open workflow to show you that content. And let's see how it works with machine translation, in this case, to speed up things. So it's French, right? And then this one is German, and this one is Japanese. So we have three language versions. And now, normally now the linguistic work would happen, right? So in real life, we will have linguists or maybe post editors checking the machine translation. And once everything is finished, once the file is finished, and then actually all languages have to be finished in that specific setup, the project will be finished, and then the target files will be sent to SharePoint, and they will be then available for download, which I'm going to show you in a second. Before I do that, just to mention about that continuous localization I was referring to at the beginning. So let's imagine that we have a project and we have a continuous localization, and someone on the XTM side decides to add another language. So we have 3, but someone then decides, say after communicating with someone who was uploading the files in SharePoint, let's say, assuming these are 2 separate people, then they can simply update the language, so they can add more languages if they want. And this will then create a new folder, language folder, and for the target files, right? So with continuous localization, which is set in those settings here, you can achieve that. This is one of the examples of using the continuous localization. The other example is that you can also, as I mentioned, upload the files, update the files and upload new files, and they will be added to the existing project. So you can have a project in a sense which never ends, and then the translated content will be then sent back to SharePoint every time the file is finished in a given language. So that's the benefit of continuous localization. Let's say that we are done with this project already, so everything is finished. The proofreaders finished their work. Now I can force finish it because I'm a PM, so I can finish the project to see what happens in SharePoint. The finish of the project happened. Now we can go to our SharePoint. Let's go back. Maybe we can now go to the translated folder, target files folder, and you can see now the few seconds ago, which is now, our connector created a new folder, and inside that folder we have languages, and those languages then, the folders, and they contain the specific files, translated files. So if I go for Japanese, this, if I open it even now in SharePoint, you should be able to see that translated file. And the same would go for other languages, for example, French. Which is visible, of course. And then the third one, which is German. So we can see translations done in XTM and then uploaded to the target folder. That's basically the whole logic behind the SharePoint Drive connector, SharePoint connector. I hope it's clear how it works and how it can be configured. Obviously, whenever you have some doubts, or you would like to maybe to go for a POC, and then it's always better to consult all the details with support when it comes to configuration. And on our website, we also have a separate help for XTM connectors. And just for your information, as I mentioned, we call it MS SharePoint Drive. And you can actually enter it and see the details from the administrator's perspective and how it can be configured. Okay, that's SharePoint. Now we would like to move to OCM. OCM, so Oracle Content Management, is the connector that we built to translate assets and sites in XTM, and obviously we want to send them using API to XTM without any copying, pasting of content. And we can simply select assets for translation, use a specific connector, because we can obviously set different connectors, different profiles. And I called mine actually XTM Demo. Now XTM Demo is the name of the repo, but I also have the same profile with the same name, I mean. And similarly, like in SharePoint, we also have a similar approach when it comes to configuration. So basically, this is the Oracle Content Management panel, admin panel, so as opposed to the one I was showing before. Obviously, there are differences when it comes to configuration and connection, but when you go down, the logic is very similar when it comes to the settings on the OCM side, on the XTM side. So you can also select a specific customer, which is Oracle Content Management. You can select a specific template with different languages and other setup elements, like, for example, machine translation. And then it is very, very important, and it's different from SharePoint, is that you have the so-called language mappings section where you can select your Oracle language, and you can then map it with XTM language. But so it's extremely important, and it has to be done at the beginning. But once it's done, you can simply rely on those mappings, and you can use those languages in your daily work. So for the purpose of the demo, I just mapped a couple of languages. I'm going to send something from English US, but it's also possible to map a generic English EN language in Oracle with a given, let's say, XTM cloud language. It can be English US, English Canadian, whatever you wish. And then below also section about notifications, and also about the project name prefix. So that's just briefly the config. I think that what's more interesting is the entire round tripping between OCM and XTM. So we have some nice demo page about coffee, and we can just take a look at some of those assets that we want to translate. And that's a good example, I think, Power of Coffee. And let's click that language section here. We can see we already have the translation into Italian, right? So that's our Italian content. And I can also, take a look at it in a different view if I want. But basically, the purpose of today's demo webinar is to show you how you can send it to some other languages. You can also select more assets, as you can see, because we have those checkboxes. And you can also send the entire site. So let's say the entire coffee site that I created for them purposes, and you can then send it together. Today, just to show you simple assets translation, I would like to send this. And so in order to do that, I have a couple of options when it comes to sending it for translation, but I can, for example, right-click the specific asset. I can then select translate. Here I have to give it a name for traceability purposes. Select source language, let's say English US, target languages I haven't used before. Let's select Korean, and then translation options. So here we can decide whether we want to translate assets only, or maybe some dependencies which are related with that asset. So let's say that I want to translate on the assets, and then here there comes an important part. By default, OCM is equipped with the so-called translation package that you can export. But in XTM connector, you have to select a specific XTM demo connector. In this case, we called it this way just to make it meaningful. And once you select that XTM demo connector, you can create your translation project. So all you need to do is to click create. Now it's created now in translation jobs, and I just went there to double check how it looks. So now we can see we have a translation in progress, and translation in progress showing 0%. So say nothing has been done, nothing has been confirmed. We can close those. Let's go to the XTM again, the same instance. Click all projects. Now you can see this is our webinar demo or webinar project that I just created. It's into Korean, and it's also defaulted to some specific due date, which was set in the config. And now if you go to the details, and you will see we have a specific file. It's Power of Coffee. It's XML. We always convert the original JSON files from OCM to XML. It has a specific structure, specific, let's say, steps, because it's driven by the setup in the project template, right? In this case, I didn't have any assignments. I just wanted to show you how that content looks like in XTM Workbench. So this is our asset that we send for translation XTM. Now we can see we have a Korean version. Again, to speed up, I created some, I used machine translation, so that's our Korean content here. And as always, right, so in XTM, the project would have to be finished. And once it's finished, it will be available for import in OCM in this case. So maybe let's just go to the project list and finish this project. I would like to show you the difference in the translations list in OCM, so to see what happens. I'm finishing this project as I did for SharePoint. So the same logic, I have to finish the project for the content to be sent back. And I can now go to my OCM again, refresh the view, and now I should be able to see that translation is already finished. So it's 100%. It's not yet everything, because we also have to go to that specific item and import it, right? So we have the translation is ready. This is our connector. And what I can do right now, I can import that content, right? So I just clicked import. The validation just happened. And I can now confirm that I want to import that content and into OCM. So let me do that. Now it's imported, right? So I can go back to my main site. Let's go to XTM demo. Find the power of coffee. I think it would be easier to just simply find it in the search. It's entirely up to you how you filter for those. And this is our power of coffee, right? Asset. So we would like to see how it looks in the other languages. So before I showed you the Italian, now it's Korean. I can now select Korean, and this is our content that we were able to see. And so this is our asset. Oh, I went back, sorry. Translated into Korean. Obviously, you can also do it in a different way and simply publish it, right? Because you can decide whether you want to publish it immediately after translation or not. It's always safer, I guess, to take a look if everything is fine, and then simply publish it on your website. So this is exactly the same content as you just saw in XTM, and we now have 3 versions. We have English as a master, and we have Italian, and we have Korean, and A stands for asset. So it's translated already, and it can be published, as I said. Okay, so you can also view it in this way. Yeah, that's what I was this is what I was referring to. That we have specific images. Obviously, in those cases, they are not translated, and yeah, we also have some Latin content before in source, but basically we only translated the English content. So that's the entire round tripping. And when it comes to connecting XTM with OCM, we maybe then let me just show it to you when it's available or where it's available. And you will have to start from integrations, right? So in the integrations, and we have obviously a lot of them, but let's say this is the translation connector section, and this is where you can actually set up the connection with your XTM connector, and you can by using specific details that are in the admin panel of the connector, and then use it and across the entire OCM site. It's also quite important to mention is that you have to add that specific connector to all your repos that you have. So you have assets in specific repositories. You have to just make sure that XTM is simply XTM connector is available there in those repos. So then you can use it freely across, as I said, across the entire site. Good. Okay, that was quick actually. 2 connectors in 25 minutes. Yeah, but yeah, I just wanted to show you the most important, say, features of it. So please let me know if you have any questions. This session is being recorded, so will be then published on our website in XTM on demand actually. So you will be able to watch this webinar once we upload it to our on-demand page, and yeah, you can take a look at it again, and then double check if you consider it to be a good fit for your localization needs if you use SharePoint and if you use OCM.